Welcome to the Sportscast. December 2, our first podcast of December. If you haven't yet, please subscribe on all our channels, YouTube, Periscope, iTunes. And if you're in iTunes, please leave a rating and a review. It will help us out tremendously. And visit us on thesportscast.net, thesportscast.net. This episode is brought to you by InstaBible. Download the InstaBible app on your iPhone. Share a verse on a picture to the world, especially on Instagram. While Justin Herbert had a season low for passing yards in his final game at Autzen Stadium, Oregon's senior quarterback didn't seem all that disappointed. The best part, the game's not decided on my individual performance, Herbert says. It's who scores the most points, and we did that today. Herbert threw for 174 yards and a touchdown in the Oregon's win over Oregon State, 24-10. They call it the Civil War. And joining us, a person that does not gain a pound over Thanksgiving, the one and only Ty Turner. Welcome back to the Sportscast.
Oh, good.
So, Ty, obviously not a good win, a good game 2 weeks ago against Arizona State, but they came back against Oregon State, won it 24-10 as expected. What were your thoughts over the game?
Well, for one, did Herbert here? What was Herbert's fault? Where did you read that article or whatever that?
I got a quote from ESPN. He said that the best part, the game's not decided on my individual's performance. It's who scores the most points, and we did that today.
Oh, shut the hell up, Herbert. Sorry for my language, but my goodness, like honestly, quit the coach speak political talk. Like, my goodness, you came back supposedly to try to lead your team to a national title and a big Pac-12 championship. You're the reason they lost Arizona State because you just literally played a horrible game. You came back the next week, you think on your last game ever in Autzen Stadium, and you thought you'd be really dialed in. Nope. Once again, throwing balls into the ground, throwing balls way out in front of receivers, overthrowing wide open receivers in the end zone. Like, honestly, quit the coach speak and just go out there and win. Then win because you are the man. Win because you are the projected first-round quarterback. Win because you are supposed to be the best player in the Pac-12. Win because of that. Instead, don't be the reason why possibly the game wasn't as close as it was. If you would have completed the pass to a wide-open Jawan Johnson that was perfectly schemed by the coaches, you would have been up by 21 points in the third quarter. If you would have completed a couple more of those passes to wide-open receivers, like a wide-open Josh Delgado, wide-open Johnny Johnson, instead of throwing the ball in the freaking ground, maybe it would not have been a 7-point game in the fourth quarter with Oregon State having the ball and having a chance to tie the game. Like, honestly, just shut up. If you're going to be this unassuming, it's kind of quiet and supposedly leading by example instead of he's not very vocal. If you're going to be that way, you better be that guy. You better not be the guy that becomes this unassuming person when the last two games you've really been nothing but a below average Power 5 quarterback, let alone a future first round draft pick like you were heralded coming into the season. And
there you have it, Ty Turner's spiel over Herbert.
I didn't hear that quote by him, but honestly, shut up. No one wants to hear it anymore from you, Herbert. Put up or shut up.
You're still bitter over him, aren't you?
Anyway, well, no, I'm not bitter over him. It's just his kind of quiet, unassuming to himself, mannerisms was fine when he was everything that was supposedly projected as this future first-round pick, a Heisman Trophy candidate. But after 3-4 years, at times being the reason why they've lost the games, reason why their offense has been inconsistent, reason why they've not been able to put away lesser opponents that are severely outmanned. And much of the reason is because of the inconsistent play and sometimes the overall lack of leadership by Herbert and able to take over a game and make basic passes. If a guy is open, you hit him with the ball. You have started 30-some games. A lot of people are getting on the offensive coordinator. Some people are getting on Mario Cristobal. I've heard some people say he doesn't have good receivers. I don't know who can coach someone to hit a guy who is wide open in the end zone with no one around him with an easy dump pass? Like, how is that anyone's fault but Justin Herbert? Airmailing the ball into the stands. Like, you go back to the Auburn game, you have a Hail Mary from the opponent's 35-yard line, and you throw it through the end zone. Did the coaches teach him how to do that? No, it's like it just gets to the point where I'm sorry. I'm just
no, it's okay.
Mad.
This is good.
I'm just pumped up, and hearing that garbage from Herbert, it's just like, get over it, bro. Like honestly, I don't want to hear anything from you. What I want to see is you taking over the Pac-12 championship game against a top 5 team, against a top 5 defense. And the reason why Oregon wins is because of you, Mr. First-round quarterback. Like, cool, you came back for your senior year. You're that cool little story of the kid who grew up next to Alston Stadium. I think you're a big hype job.
How much?
Like, do it.
How much of his stock has gone down? Is he still first-rounder or?
Oh, well, yeah, probably. Yeah, it probably is. Because the thing is they go off a lot of what the projected measurables. An individual that's 6'6", an individual that's 240, an individual that has an elite arm. And it's a quarterback-hungry league. Also, Tua not only got hurt, but I also don't think that, obviously, Mac Jones put up pretty good numbers, didn't he, last couple of games?
He did. Looked better than Herbert at times.
It wasn't like it was. Yeah. Well. That being said, Oregon doesn't have the weapons that Alabama has.
Yeah.
That's not necessarily a fair comparison. Herbert probably would put up pretty good. No, that was not my argument with Mac Jones over Herbert. My argument was more that probably would make people look a little more closely at Tua Tagovailoa. Does he really have elite arm, or is it his elite receivers that make it look that good? Is he really that elite at his progression, or is it his elite wide receivers that are making them look that good? Because Mac Jones, I didn't see a lot of the games. I saw the highlights, saw some of the clips, and he looked pretty damn good. And
but he has weapons.
He's the best wide receiver core in college football, maybe in college football history. I mean, 2 of those guys can be first-round draft picks, and Jalen Waddle will be a first-round draft pick next year. So, and Najee Harris is going to probably be a first, second-round draft pick. So, I don't know. I'd say more about it will probably make people question Tua because of the injuries, and also was he more of the scheme and the weapons than he was Tua. You got Jacob Eason, who has been very inconsistent. Is that because of his system, or is that because he's just inconsistent? And then you got Justin Herbert, who is just Justin Herbert, which is the most inconsistent quarterback in college football. And then I'd say the safest bet is probably Joe Burrow, but you have to wonder, Joe Burrow didn't win the job at Ohio State. Joe Burrow didn't look very good his junior year at LSU. Is that more Joe Brady than Joe Burrow? I would say this year's quarterback class is a little bit of a question mark based upon a few things. That being said, I think Justin Herbert, because he is 6'6", because he is 240, because he is a good athlete, because he has a very good arm, because he does have experience, because he did have a solid record, he did at times lead his team to victory, I guess, against Washington State. It's debatable, but he was the quarterback on the game-winning drives. If he is able to lead them to the Pac-12 title, if he's able to lead them to a Rose Bowl victory, he's probably going to be a first-round draft pick. But my rant at the beginning remains the same. I don't want to hear individual. He didn't play good against Oregon State. He played terrible against Arizona State. And you'd really think that after that game, playing at home, his last game ever at home in his whole career, that he would have come out inspired, ready to really say, I want to get that bad game off, I'm going to take this team on my back, and I'm going to lay a whooping on my in-state rival. He did. He didn't play well. I know you didn't see the game against Oregon State, but Justin Herbert didn't play well. The defense played well. McKay had an excellent return. Oregon was able to run the ball pretty well. I mean, I think they were able to average like 6-7 yards per carry on the ground. But Justin Herbert was so inaccurate in the passing game that it stunted drives. He missed a wide-open Jawan Johnson for a touchdown that would have put them ahead by 3 scores. It was not. It was another very, I would say, below-average performance by Herbert. 2 games in a row, and that's mixed in with a bad second half against Auburn, a bad first half against Cal, a bad first half against Washington, a bad first half against Washington State. There's too many bad games by Herbert. I mean, when you can mix all his bad halves and bad games into like 4 or 5 bad games and like 5 or 6 good games, that's too much bad. For a guy that's a 4-year starter, it's unacceptable.
And some would say he should have entered the draft last year.
No, he did. Yep. No, actually, I'm being serious. Yeah, he did. Yep. Actually, yes. And that is the what's the word I'm looking for? That is the fear. That is a risk. There we go. That is a risk of giving a 1 more year of tape to evaluators. You could lose money. He might lose money. I think last year he would have been drafted number 5 pick in the draft by the New York Giants. Yeah. I think he would have been Daniel Jones, but he didn't. And he came back a year. I don't think he goes top 10. I do somehow see him going in the first round. I think a team is going to say, hey, this guy has a lot of talent. He has measurables. I think we can develop him. I could see him going to New Orleans. I could see him going to New England. I could see him going to notice some names, some teams with quarterbacks. But what's the common denominator between New Orleans and New England's quarterback?
Elite.
What did Drew Brees and Tom Brady have in common?
They're elite.
No. Why would they possibly be drafting a quarterback in the first round?
Because those two are going to head out sooner than later.
Yep. Yeah. Tom Brady is almost 43, I believe, and Drew Brees is 41. So they're old. But I don't know if they're going to be gone this year, especially Brees. Brady, I don't know if you've seen it recently, he might be going sooner than later.
Yeah.
But
he might be going to the Chargers.
Yeah, he could. He could be done. Yeah, he could be done. Oh, the Chargers. There's another one. The Chargers is our team that could draft. I could see the Chargers, New Englanders, or Saints drafting Herbert, sitting him a year or 2 behind Brady, Brees, or Rivers, and then trying to start him, and letting him develop behind a elite quarterback and learn under him for a year or 2. Or maybe a Tampa Bay and sit behind a Jameis Winston. Maybe. And because Bruce Arians is a great quarterback coach. That could be a team that takes Herbert. I don't see a team that wants someone to come in and help right away taking him. I think Cincinnati would take Burrow. I think Miami would take Burrow. The only thing is who is the second quarterback in the draft? If it's not Herbert, who is it? Eason? Eason's very inconsistent.
Jacob Eason. I'm looking at Jacob Eason, of course. But then the question is, Tua could enter this draft. I mean, he hasn't said anything, but he could still.
Who could enter draft?
Tua could enter.
Yeah, Tua. Well, he is going to enter. Who's saying Tua's not going to enter the draft?
Well, there's talk about him returning for his senior year.
No, there's not. No, I haven't heard. Where have you heard that?
Well, I'm hearing from Justin, but I mean that's not a good source, I guess.
No, there's not. No, I know that was mentioned a couple of times, but I also saw several people talk on it. No, it'd be too risky for him. He'd be risking so much.
You don't want to pull a Herbert.
He might not even he wouldn't get drafted until like the 5th round. If he comes out this year, he probably goes late in the first round. If he risks going back for another year, it could go. No,
so you're saying he should go out this season? This season, he should go to the draft.
What'd you say?
So you're saying he should just go to the draft? Don't don't waste your.
Well, not only am I saying it, but I've seen NFL guys say it. I've seen scouts say it. I've seen analysts say it. I've seen prognosticators on college football and the NFL say it. I've heard most people say that Tua should go. Yeah. So I'm actually counting Tua. But do you think Tua is going to be the second quarterback coming off of a hip
I don't
injury?
think so. Maybe at best mid-first round.
But see, look at that. Do you think Tua having a serious hip injury? So you think Tua could go mid-first round?
At best, but it depends on how his hip is. His
so
hip, he might not be ready
Tua
until next year, till the fall.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
He might not be ready, but why would he go back to Alabama?
That's right. It makes no sense coming in for like the second half of the season, because I think that's his projection. Come back next October. I've been hearing.
Yeah, and what if he got tackled again and they got hurt again?
Yeah, not worth the risk. You're right.
He's not gonna, he won't go in. And then next year's draft is like Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields. Better quarterbacks, guys that I think would all be. I think Fields and Lawrence would be drafted above anyone in this draft. So Tua's going to wait and then maybe be the third quarterback, and then risk it. No, he can't.
You would not it.
No. But I think Alabama will be fine. Mac Jones is better than people expected. Bryce Young is the second best quarterback with my recruiting experts coming out of high school and plays for Mater Dei High School. Tua's younger brother's not a bad player, so I think Alabama will be fine quarterback. But I don't think Tua comes back.
Let's talk about.
Anyways, that's it. Yeah.
Oregon State, or you want to go straight to Utah?
Okay, I'll just quickly go over it. It wasn't a great game by the offense. Obviously, I went on a rant about Herbert. He did not play that well. Oregon won. They won 24-10. A big touchdown by Mikael Wright, freshman, second kickoff return for a touchdown. That kind of really was they got ahead by that early in the game and never looked back. Like I said, they ran the ball pretty good. Herbert was terrible, so the passing game was very inconsistent. The defense played very well. It's the seventh time this year they've held a team to 10 points or under. They are back in the top 15 in defensive efficiency. I believe when this season's all said and done, I believe their defense will end up higher rated than their offense. That's probably the first time for Oregon in, 15, 20 years. They won. It was not a great-looking game. To be honest, they've won that game over USC, and then the 3 games since, they've had 2 underwhelming victories over not very good teams, and then they had the bad loss to Arizona State. Oregon is not exactly trending in the right direction, and I don't know why. It's not like a bunch of injuries have happened. Yes, they had a wide receiver or 2 go down. Offensive lineman's been dinged up, but it's been nothing crazy. I don't understand why the team is not quite playing as well. And, I don't know why Herbert's playing worse. It's a little confusing. It happened last year. After they beat Washington, they went into that tailspin where they lost 3 out of 4, got smashed by Arizona on the road, and it's kind of trending bad. If they lose to Utah, once again, it'll be losing 2 of your last 3 regular season games and really not looking good even in the victories. I don't know. 2 years of this under Mario Cristobal's staff. We'll see if it can get rectified in the future. But call me, obviously I went on my Herbert rant, but call me still a little bit of a skeptic about the overall coaching acumen of Mario Cristobal and his staff. I just am a little bit skeptical. Like I said, second year in a row where the second half of the season hasn't looked as good, where they kind of had big emotional victories over teams like Washington and USC, and then started not to play as well, blew a possible playoff opportunity.
You just don't see it.
I know there's a lot of people. Why do you say you just don't see it? I'm not going to. Don't see why. I just don't see why.
Their coaching, lasting longer than a year or 2 years from,
What do you mean?
Like, what I'm assuming is that you don't think if Mark Cristobal, doesn't do well in another year that he might be out of the program.
That is an absolutely, I don't know where you came to that conclusion at.
I mean,
No,
that's all assumption.
Not what that's not accurate at all.
But you expressed doubts.
What?
You've expressed doubts over Mario Cristobal.
No, I did not. Did I say he was going to be fired within a year?
No, but I mean, I'm assuming. That's my words.
Okay. No. What? No. I mean, no. He inherited a 7-16. His first year, he was 9-4. Landed a top 13 class. Second year, he's 10 wins. Won the Pac-12 North. He landed a top 10 class. He has a top 15 class in tow, and he's going to play in the Pac-12 championship game. No, I did not say Mario Cristobal.
No,
about ready
you didn't
to
say
lose
that.
the
I know
job.
that.
No.
I'm just thinking maybe.
No, well, okay, I'm gonna clarify just so I don't have any hasty conclusions put on the plate. I said I'm a little bit skeptical of the coaching staff's overall acumen. No, I do not think Mario Cristobal is even a year, 2 years, maybe even 3 years from even being close to the hot seat. I do worry that possibly we could be bringing in very good talent. I think he's one of the best recruiters for a head football coach in college football. He was the 2015 National Recruiter of the Year by 247 Sports. He is undoubtedly a great recruiter. I sometimes worry about some of the in-game adjustments. I sometimes worry about some of the in-game overall game management, like timeouts, going to fourth downs, where to punt, where to go for it. Some of those type of things I worry about. And I worry a little bit about some of his support staff, possibly the overall identity of the offense. More the offense. The defense has gotten better. It's tough to question the defense when the defense in every statistical area is better this year than last year. So I'm not really going to question the defense when they are better in total yards. They give up less yards. They give up less points. They force more turnovers. They get more sacks. I don't really question a defense that's better statistically in every area. So I'm going to say Andy Avalos and his staff did a good job. The offense, not so much. They basically have been kind of the same. And that's returning a senior quarterback and five starting offensive linemen, including 4 seniors. I am a little more, questioning, skeptical about the offense. I'm a little skeptical about some of the in-game decisions, in-game game management, and even adjustments by Mario Cristobal himself. No, I don't think Mario Cristobal is on the hot seat in a year. No.
Let's talk about Utah.
You don't say that when he won 10 games during the Pac-12 title playing against Utah. No.
Okay, Mario Cristobal is on. And plus, who else will you hire at this point?
Okay, let's move on to Utah.
Oregon is the underdog for the Pac-12 championship. Utah is moving up. They have a chance to clinch the college football playoffs. Big 12 game will be this Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern at Levi Stadium. ESPN Football Power Index is favoring the Ducks to win it by 51% probability to win it. Tyler, what are your expectations for this game?
Yeah, I saw that. FBI does favor the Ducks. Vegas favors Utah. The Utah is favored by, I think, 5 points. You know what? I have gone so back and forth on this game. Okay, looking at Utah in a nutshell. Utah has a top 5 defense according to efficiency. I believe they're number 5. They have a top 10 offense according to efficiency. I believe they're number 8. They have a senior quarterback who started for the last 3 years. He's very efficient. He has one of the highest QBRs of any quarterback in college football in Tyler Huntley. They have the best running back, 12, Zach Moss. He's been one of the best running backs in the 12 after 3 years. Probably one of the top 5 running backs in college football. They have a great defense. Probably the best defensive line in college football. Siaki Lotu. I'm so bad with names, I give up. Bradley Anai. You have one of the best linebackers in college football, Bernard. He's an inside linebacker, will be a middle-round draft pick. I would argue they have the best corner in the Pac-12 in Jalen Johnson. They have maybe the best safety in Julian Blackman. Leaky Fotu. There it is. Leaky Fotu, possibly the best defensive lineman in the Pac-12. They are maybe the best coach in the Pac. Kyle Whittingham has been a very successful coach his whole tenure, taking over for Urban Meyer back early, I think, 14 years ago. There's so much to like about Utah, but there is a couple things. They still only have, according to the True Talent Composite, the number 47th most talented roster in the nation.
Wow.
They have number 7 most talented roster in the Pac-12. So they're only middle tier in the Pac-12 as far as talent. They only have 8 blue-chip prospects. So the fact that Whittingham has these guys playing at such a high level, he has got these guys that were 3-stars that are probably going to be NFL picks, guys in Fotu and Bradley Anai and Bernard and Blackman and Huntley and Moss. And they have a good tight end. I forget his name. I don't know names. But when you watch them, you do sometimes see that when you get behind the better players, the depth is there is a drop-off.
Rick Egan, the tight end. No.
It's not him.
Brant Kuth.
I don't know if that's him either.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Okay. I would know the name. Might be that guy, but I'm not sure. But anyway, but he's very good. The Utah tight end is very good, one of the best tight ends in the country. But when you go by it, you saw the USC game. They took advantage of USC took advantage with a third-string quarterback of the kind of the size and athletic ability of the big wide receivers, and they upset Utah. Washington early when they jumped out to a big lead, they saw that some of the smaller DBs, the guy other than Johnson, I think it's Goodry. He's fast, he's small. He got taken advantage of a little bit. So did the safety, throwing the ball over to Bryant. Washington got out to a big lead. You see sometimes where teams are able to take advantage of some of the lack of talent in certain areas of the team. So there's that, and there's also so much on the line for Utah. This is a school that has only been a Power 5 school for under a decade. They've moved from the Mountain West over to the Pac-12. They finally are in a place that they can possibly make the college football playoff. That burden sometimes can be too much for people. And
can they handle the pressure?
Sometimes guys that have been playing loose, they've just going out being themselves, and tighten up. Especially an atmosphere like Levi Stadium, which is this big stadium. 49ers play there, but it's not a great college football stadium. It's kind of big, kind of flat, probably not the best emotional game, and a lot of emotion can go into guys, sometimes the fans help bring up this emotion, help fuel this emotion. But when it's a big stadium and maybe it's not that loud, you have to fuel it. What if all of a sudden they're tight and they come out flat and maybe a couple things don't go their way and then the emotion in the stadium is just blah? I don't know, because I saw last year, I saw the Pac-12 championship, and you could tell both teams were struggling to really get any energy in that stadium. It was a 10-3 game. I saw the Ducks. Ducks played Michigan State in the Red Box Bowl. They won 7-6. Once again, it was kind of that motion in the stadium is kind of dead. You kind of got to fuel yourselves. Well, for a team that's kind of overachieved and is sometimes probably played off of having that edge and just being there, what if they come out tight and it flattens them out? There's just some of those outside, so subjective, but there's kind of those outside variables that makes me wonder if Utah could have too much on the line in this game in that stadium that they might not play like they have all year.
Yeah, it's Brant Kuth. That's the tight end. Brant Kuth.
Oh yeah, I agree. Yeah,
2 touchdowns this past weekend. Interesting.
you look at because as a team, they've been a more consistent team than Oregon. Like I've looked at them play week in, week out. They're more. You kind of know what you get. You get a team that is efficient on offense, a team that doesn't give up big plays and forces turnovers on defense. Tough to run on, tough to consistently drive the field on defense. On offense, Huntley is very accurate as a passer. When he gets rushed, he usually gets rid of the ball or he moves the chains with his legs with positive yardage. Moss is a good player who gets positive yards pretty much on every carry. They're just a very efficient team, and that's why I think if they do win the Pac-12 championship, I think they deserve it more than Oklahoma because I think overall, offense and defense, they are a more efficient team than Oklahoma. I just think they have been more efficient. I don't think they quite have the talent of Oklahoma. I think Oklahoma actually would be more apt to possibly pull off an upset over in Ohio State. But if you're just going to go off of a team that's been more efficient on a week-in, week-out basis and has consistently dominated their opposition by just being better on both sides of the ball, I think Utah's better. But that being said, lack of overall baseline talent and the fact that there's so much on the line that can cause a team to tighten up, it's an interesting game. Also, like I said, they have the best DL in the Pac-12. But Oregon combats that with one of the best offensive line, not just in the Pac-12, but in college football. Oregon does have some big receivers, guys like Jawan Johnson, like Spencer Webb, that maybe could take advantage of those smaller DBs like Goodry or who the other DB is. That someone like USC and even Washington early on did. Defensively, Utah's offensive line is okay, but it's not great. Can Oregon get pressure on Tyler Huntley? Maybe force him a little bit outside where he has to make some plays. And I think the tight end's a good guy, but the other weapons at the wide receiver position, Simpkins and Nakua, I think they're solid players. They're not terrific. They're not elite. I think that Oregon's defense secondary, unless they play like they did against Washington State and Arizona State, they had a couple of really bad games, but the other 10 games this season, the defensive backfield's been very good, including against Oregon State. So if they can play well, they can force Huntley, they could maybe make them a little one-dimensional where they're having trouble getting the ball down the field, making them pass, and making the offense a little one-dimensional. There's definitely some scenarios where I like Oregon. I think Oregon has a little more baseline talent. But I do think that Utah has definitely have been the more efficient team. They've been the more consistent team. I'm struggling with this game. I really don't know which way to go because of a couple of variables. Obviously, my heart wants to go with Oregon, but I don't know if my head's saying that, but also my head's also taking me a different direction too. So, that's kind of a breakdown of Oregon-Utah.
Yes, of course, Utah has something to play for. They have a lot of college football playoff hopes. I was watching a show this morning on ESPN2.
Well, they both have now. Let's put this thing. Utah does have the pressure, but at the end of the day, the winner wins the Pac-12. The winner for sure is going to have a Rose Bowl appearance. So Utah, no matter what, will make the Rose Bowl. If Oregon wins, they make the Rose Bowl. So there's a lot in the line even for Oregon to win a Pac-12, to have a Rose Bowl appearance, the most prestigious bowl in college football history. So Oregon does have pressure too.
Now, the only loss Utah had was against USC. Do you see a correlation? I mean, obviously Oregon beat USC. Do you see any correlation with that game they lost to?
What do you mean?
I mean, like analyzing from that Oregon, that USC and Utah game. Did you see weakness from Utah that possibly could gain advantage for Oregon?
Did you not? Did you not hear me?
Oh, you said that already.
Did you not hear?
Yeah. Well,
did you hear what I said?
No, I did not. I apologize.
Okay. Well, you didn't hear. So okay, that's fine. You're probably flirting with that girl that you are in your office. I've seen you before when I've seen you on that live cast video. Anyways, I'm just kidding.
If you said it, we can move on. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
No. I said, okay, to go back to reiterate what I said USC took advantage of the big wide receivers by USC, Michael Pittman, Tyler Vaughn, Drake London, and they were able to utilize it against the smaller Utah DBs. Not Johnson, but more the Goodry, the guy, he's fast, but he's really small. And they were able to go over the top of him, and they made the plays, wide receiver. Yes, and then Washington. I said Washington did the same thing early, and that's why they jumped out to the lead. They were able to get the ball downfield to the big tight end who split out Hunter Bryant, who was able to make some plays. They Bynum, too, was able to make some plays, if I remember correctly. So, yes, guys like Jawan Johnson, Spencer Webb, the bigger wide receivers possibly get the ball up over the top of them.
I remember you saying that. Yep.
Now that being said, that's not exactly Herbert's forte. He's not exactly the best getting the ball over the top. He's not very accurate at it. It's one of the many things he's not very good at. But anyways, but if Herbert can all of a sudden transform into a new quarterback and do that a little bit, I could see them making plays over the top. Yeah. And then, like I said, the other thing is kind of locking down. I think USC did a little bit with a more athletic secondary, and I think the same with Oregon, the more athletic secondary may be able to lock down the wide receivers and make Huntley kind of uncomfortable where he kind of has to run around and move around in the pocket. Also, Huntley's been battling a knee injury. I think he hurt it against USC. And ever since then, he has not been 100%. He's been a little – so if he gets hit a few times, possibly could affect his mobility, and then that would make them even more one-dimensional. That's what I try to do. I try to make Utah one-dimensional. I try to make it where they could pretty much only run and not get plays down the field. And then on the other side of the ball, run. It's going to be hard to run. They have a very good front seven, especially defensive line, but then maybe get some balls over the top to the bigger wide receivers like Jawan Johnson, Brian Addison, and Spencer Webb.
Utah head coach Kyle Whittingham is looking to become the second Pac-12 South team to win the title clash, and in the process impress enough members of the selection committee to earn the number 4 seed in the final playoff rankings. And I was watching this ESPN2 show this morning, and they were saying, that the Pac-12 team, Utah, has a way more advantage than Oklahoma. So we'll definitely be looking at. But Utah has to beat Oregon in Levi Stadium this Friday.
I think they're overall a more. Oh, no wonder you weren't listening. You're messaging on Sportscast. It just came off my thing. I think they're the more efficient team than the metrics say they're a more efficient team than Oklahoma. That being said, Oklahoma's probably a little more talented and probably had a little better schedule, but also a couple of the teams that are in the top 25 on Oklahoma's schedule lost. So if they fall out of the top 25, that makes Oklahoma's schedule not look as good. So that being said, also, if Utah wins and makes the college football playoff, Oregon actually makes the Rose Bowl no matter what.
Which is great for you. That's good enough to end the year.
No, it's not. I want them to win the Pac-12 title. I don't want them to back in. I really don't.
Well,
I mean, yeah, that's a decent consolation prize, but I'd much rather have them be Pac-12 champions.
Which they can.
It's much better to sell. Yeah, it's much better to sell recruits on, hey, we were Pac-12 champions, we made it to a Rose Bowl, than saying, even if you said you're a Rose Bowl champion.
And like Tyler says, Oregon has a better talent sheet than Utah does. So if Oregon wins, it should not be a surprise. Ready for championship?
It should be close.
Yep. Championship week game predictions. Are you ready?
Yep.
Let's start off with Georgia versus LSU in Atlanta.
Georgia versus LSU. I think it's, I believe Georgia. Is DeAndre Swift injured in this game?
Let me double check on you on that and keep going while I check. Georgia.
I'm checking too. Well, I can't really keep going because this is stuff like
one player will make a big difference.
Status. What?
One player, Kirby Smart, further downplays severity of DeAndre injury. It feels like it's an unknown.
Okay, he's supposed He's supposedly fine, but coaches say that a lot. I don't know.
He's doing great. He's progressing.
Lawrence Cager, the leading receiver, is out. The second leading receiver, George Pickens.
According to Justin, he's out.
Pickens?
No, their wide receiver, DeAndre.
DeAndre Swift doesn't play wide receiver, bud. He plays running back.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so he says Swift. Smart is saying he's playing. So Smart says Swift, the running back, is playing. Lawrence Cager, the wide receiver, is out. George Pickens, the other leading wide receiver, is out in the first half because he punched someone in the last game. That's really smart. And he possibly could get suspended the whole game. So that's still questionable. If Swift, Cager, and Pickens, three of the leading weapons on offense, are out, I don't like that for Georgia because Georgia's offense in general is not a super sophisticated offense. They rely on pretty much having the dogs to do it. If they don't have the dogs, I don't see them scheming up enough to score points. Georgia has a great defense. I think Georgia might have the best defense in college football. But that being said, I don't think you're going to shut down LSU's offense. I just don't think they'd be able to keep up with LSU if they don't have those guys. Now, if Pickens comes back in the second half and Swift is able to go, that's a little bit better. If they're able to keep it close in the first half, maybe the second half they're able to make some plays and pull off the upset. I just think that the weapons being a slight issue and the offense of Georgia at times just not being very dynamic. I think LSU is going to score more points. I do think Georgia slows LSU down more so than any other team, but I see it being like a 28-21 victory.
20-21 by a touchdown. ACC championship, Tyler. Who do you have between Virginia versus Clemson?
Okay, so I don't really think there's any chance for the Ducks to make the playoffs, but I did think of one crazy one, and this is good. If Virginia upset Clemson would not only have one loss, they would not only not have won the ACC, they also have not beaten anyone in the top 25. Would Oregon, who is a Power 5 conference champion, who with 2 victories over top 25 teams, including the victory over the top 10 Utah and a conference champion, would they get the nod over Clemson?
Possible. Very possible.
I mean, I think Clemson's a better team.
How about Alabama?
It'd be hard for me. No, Alabama won't. They have 2. Why would Alabama? They have 2 losses and they're not even a conference champion.
I know. I'm just kidding.
And they have no victories. No. Listen to this. They have 2 losses. They're not a conference champion and have no victories over top 25 teams. What argument would they have?
Nada.
No, I'm asking a serious question. Do you think Oregon could get into that thing? I'm asking you a legitimate question.
If Oregon wins the Big 12 championship and Virginia beats Clemson.
No, it's not Big 12. It's Pac-12.
Pac-12 championship. They're still a one-loss team. I can see that. Yeah. Now, yeah. I mean, not thinking about it.
The issue is not only does Clemson not have a conference title, but they also would have no top 25 victories.
Then the argument Oklahoma will come in as well. So it's a...
No. Okay, so here it is. Number one, I'm just going to give you this scenario. Ohio State wins the Big Ten championship.
Mm-hmm.
They're number one. LSU wins the SEC championship. They're number 2.
Mm-hmm.
Oklahoma wins the Big 12 championship. They're number 3. Who would be number 4 if Clemson lost?
Be between Oregon and Oklahoma.
No, I said number 1, Ohio State. Number 2, LSU. Number 3, Oklahoma.
Oh, yeah, then that would be Oregon.
It would be between Oregon and Clemson, correct?
Yeah, and that's wow. Oh gosh.
Because Baylor would be eliminated because they would not be a conference champion. Alabama would be eliminated because they're not a conference champion. Georgia would be eliminated because they're not a conference champion. So it'd either be a 1-loss Clemson who didn't win their conference versus a 2-loss Oregon who won their conference and had 2 top 25 victories and Clemson had none.
And then I will go with Oregon. I will go with Oregon.
I know probably no one else has thought of that scenario, but if somehow Virginia put off the crazy upset,
which they could,
it's just
Yeah, honestly, I would say Oregon deserves it, but in a way, I would be like, I think Clemson's the better team, even if they did lose. I
Now,
think Clemson's better than Oregon, so I don't know.
which
But
Virginia
anyways,
is your wife's team,
that
right?
being said, I have Clemson. I have Clemson winning. I
Clemson.
don't. I thought Oklahoma. See, I thought Oregon would have a chance because I thought Oklahoma was going to lose to Oklahoma State, and then Oklahoma was going to win the Big 12, and then it was going to be possibly between a 2-loss Oklahoma and a 2-loss Oregon, but that didn't happen. So, anyways, I think they win. Clemson wins.
You want Virginia, but it's gonna be Clemson.
Yeah, I'm rooting for Virginia.
And it's your wife's team, right?
Yeah. It's not my team, but yeah, I'm rooting for them to win.
Big 12 championship. Who you got?
I don't ever like. Normally, it's tough to beat a team twice in a year. That first game was one of those crazy games. Baylor dominated early, and then Oklahoma came back and won. I thought Baylor's looked a little better overall, especially recently. You know, they dominated. Who did they beat? Was it who did TCU beat the week before Kansas? Well, they obviously dominated Kansas. Oh, Texas. They dominated Texas.
Good game.
I don't know. It's kind of, you know what? I think Baylor wins.
Whoa.
I think they come back with a chip on their shoulder, and they are like, you know what? We had that first game won, and we gave it up, and I think they come out. I think they won.
I think wow, that could be the biggest surprise. I think that game is the tough one. I mean, it could be a toss-up. Even though people are saying Oklahoma, but I think that game might be a toss-up. Baylor might win. You're right. Big Ten championship, Ohio State versus Wisconsin. A very good-looking Ohio State.
Yeah, you know what? Wisconsin looked good. Wisconsin has a very good team. I normally don't like, beating a team twice in a year is very hard, but Ohio State's very good. I just think they're better on every level than Wisconsin. I think Wisconsin will play them closer than the first game. I think it'll be pretty close for first 2.5 quarters. I think they end up running away in the end. I think it's 41-24.
I wish we had time to talk about the Wisconsin-Minnesota game, but it was a good game. Wisconsin won single-handedly in Minnesota.
Yep.
So, anyways.
Yep. Now, I think Wisconsin might still make the Rose Bowl. It's between Wisconsin and Penn State, so it'll be close.
That'll be a good match. Oregon versus Utah. PAC-12 this Friday, 8 p.m. on ABC Eastern.
You know what? I don't know, man. I go back and forth. Obviously, I'm an Oregon fan, so I want to pick Oregon. I think Utah has looked better and more consistent. I also think that Oregon has more talent. I think Utah has more on the line. That could be a good thing. That could be a bad thing. I don't know.
Flip a coin, Tyler.
Who do you think's going to win?
I think Utah has a lot to play, and I think they're going to win it. Even though you really convinced me, like the whole talent thing, but then Herbert's hesitant as well. I mean, he can't live up to those moments. I think Utah's going to pull it off either by 3 points or by a touchdown.
Okay, it sounds good.
Yeah, it's very hesitant because what Herbert are we going to see on Friday?
Fair. I haven't loved the play of Herbert. I haven't loved the overall play of the team. Okay.
So you're going to choose Utah?
I wouldn't be shocked. I think it's 24-21 either way.
That sounds about right.
But yeah, sure, I'll go Utah. I'll go 24-21 Utah, but I could see it the opposite. And of course, I want Oregon to win.
Of course. Tonight,
Monday. And that being said, obviously, I picked LSU to beat Georgia. Obviously, I picked
Clemson,
Baylor to beat Oklahoma.
Yeah.
So as long as Utah wins that game, they make the college football playoff. If they lose, Baylor makes the college football playoff.
Who would have thought Utah, if they made it, who would have thought? No one. Not even a soul.
No. That's the first team in the team talent composite era that had talent outside of the top 25 that made the college football playoff.
Anything can happen. And Monday Night Football, Minnesota at Seattle.
I'm from Minnesota. Let's go Minnesota.
And it is Cyber Monday. What are your favorite brand to shop from? Levi's, Apple, Supreme, or the sneaker company called Hikey. Sorry, hold on. I'm trying to pull up the poll. Anyways, we'll skip it because
I don't think. I don't even have. I've never shopped it.
Which, by the way, you promoted something on Black Friday this past weekend.
Oh yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about it? Is it called Hammer Mill? I think.
Yeah, Hammer Mill. Well, I didn't. I'm just promoting. I've been the face of their line for several times over the last 3-4 years. So I just put up their stuff. I'm like, go check out Hammermade. It's a local Minnesota company. They have used me as their model for years. So yeah, go check out their stuff. They have really nice clothes. They have really good clothes. Really good quality. If you want to put some money down, some good clothes and look good, go check out Hammermade.
And their website's hammermade.com?
Correct.
Hammermade.com. Tyler, what is the best way to reach you to talk to you about Lane Kiffin?
At TurnerCast. See if he's a new coach. See if he's a new coach at Arkansas.
Yeah, which I heard reports that Arkansas went to his house today. So we'll see.
Yeah, it sounds like he's pretty close to getting the job. So
how much do you think he'll make?
Man, good question. I don't know.
He's made a million.
We'll also see if Clay Helton still has his job. There's some rumors out yesterday.
It's going back and forth. What's going to happen?
Yeah, my goodness, I don't know. It definitely got disputed right away. So we'll see. Anyways,
the sportscast.net. Visit us for the latest news on college football and other sports. And, of course, the Sportscast 1 on Twitter. And we'll be following college football throughout the week. Tonight we have Alabama recap over Auburn, the craziest game this past weekend, some may say. And we'll have Ryan Kiss on Thursday, and we'll have Kailu on Wednesday, and possibly Jeff Farr this Friday to talk about the Chiefs. Anyways, Tyler, I appreciate you coming on to the Sportscast.
I did. Hopefully I'm talking next week about the Ducks winning the Pac-12.
Oof, big game. I'll see ya. Go Ducks.
I did.